Well, here we are again. Another season, another disappointment, another heartbreak from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Never changes. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Victoria and I talk all things Toronto sports from Scotland, and today, unfortunately, we're talking about the last Leafs postseason game of this year. Game 7, Leafs versus Bruins. Leafs lose 2-1 in overtime in just such a cruel, cruel loss. I'm still upset, but I wasn't as upset as I was at like 5 AM this morning. So there was no Joseph Woll last night, and in my opinion, Joseph Woll was the complete difference maker for the team in this round, and it turns out he got injured late in game 6, and so he wasn't in last night, and instead Samsonov was in, which was an interesting change that I didn't see coming. Austin Matthews was back, however, which was really exciting, and he was on the third line, like he was 3C, which is just an unreal someone to have on your third line, and I really think he did well last night, but I'll get into that a little bit more. Swayman was in once again for Boston, and I was wondering, you know, are they maybe like tiring him out now? Like, is he maybe getting tired? He was not. I did wonder if they put in Ullmark last night, but I think the one game he did play, you definitely saw the very slight weaknesses against the Leafs that Swayman just hasn't shown, so it was a smart move from Boston. So going into period 1, Boston looked a lot better than they had in games 5 and 6. They definitely came out a lot stronger, they looked a lot better, and I was worried from the very start. This looked like a Boston team out there to fight, whereas the previous 2 elimination games for the Leafs, Boston had sort of not had the same urgency about them as they had started off the round with and as they finished off the round with last night. Samsonov made an amazing save within the first 5 minutes, and then with like 12 and a half minutes left, Samsonov was without his stick for ages. There was chaos around the net. Tavares tripped. It was just a mess, and Samsonov lost his stick and was still able to hold on. I actually think Samsonov was incredible last night. I think he played an insane game. I think he did great. Samsonov is a goalie who can be really, really good, but he can also be quite bad, and it's quite inconsistent, and you don't really know which one's going to show up on the night. But luckily-ish for the Leafs last night, because I think if Samsonov had been off his game, the score would have been a lot worse last night, whereas honestly, he was good. Sammy looked good, he made amazing saves, and he definitely kept the Leafs in it, like for the duration of regulation anyway. Like, he really did keep them in it. While I would have obviously felt more comfortable having Joseph Woll in, and there is like a part of me that thinks, you know, maybe they would have won if Joseph Woll had been in. That is a hypothetical that nobody will ever be able to know for certain, and there's no concrete evidence that that's the case. Woll could have had a really off night, whereas Samsonov had a really good night, and I don't think it's fair to pin this blame on him. He definitely has weaknesses. I'm not convinced he's like the best goalie that the Leafs can have, and I would, you know, like to see if they could upgrade their goaltending in the near future. I would definitely like that, because Samsonov is inconsistent. However, that loss last night was not really on him. I mean, overtime's hard for goaltenders, but honestly, he kept the Leafs in it so many times during the game, and ultimately they weren't scoring. So it doesn't matter how good your goaltending is if you can't score. So Samsonov did great last night. He really did good. He exceeded my expectations for him last night. I was a little worried before the game, but I was hopeful, and honestly, I did think he performed really, really well. That was the best Samsonov performance we've had in this playoff series, in my opinion. Joseph Woll was a shining beacon of light, but just wasn't to be, I guess. The shots on goal were pretty even during the first period, and as I say, Samsonov just kept making just multiple saves one after the other. He really kept the Leafs in it. I think Boston tried to make Austin Matthews feel a little uncomfortable. Pat Maroon was sort of bear hugging him, like, get your hands off our boy. Benoit had a great shot with 8:25 left in the first period, but Swayman was just incredible. He was so good. The goalies stole the show last night. Both goaltenders at both ends were absolutely amazing, and both of them deserve really great credit for their performances last night, both of them. The Leafs' first really good and their best chance of the game so far came with 4 minutes 4 seconds left in the first period, and it was a Matthew Nyes pass to Nylander. It was so good. It was so close. I had so much hope at this point. Matthews was much better than I thought he would be, because coming back from the illness, whatever it was that was keeping him out of the lineup, you know, that's tough. And if you've been unwell or injured in any way, you lose a lot of your conditioning, you lose a lot of your strength. Depending on what the illness is, you can have some really nasty knock-on effects for a while. And I really thought he played good. I thought he actually played really well. He also exceeded my expectations of him. He did seem to be running out of gas quite quickly in comparison to what he usually is, but given that he's been ill or whatever, that's very understandable. We still don't know what the ongoing issue is, and hopefully he's okay. But honestly, I was really impressed with Austin last night. I was really impressed with his performance. Him and Nylander in particular, out of the core group, were just fantastic. They were absolutely fantastic, and even though I'm devastated, I'm really glad to have seen those two stepping up so much in the postseason. And I think for the games they've been able to play, especially given both of them missed games due to illnesses, fantastic. At the end of the first, Boston outshot the Leafs 11-8. Leafs were winning more face-offs. There was absolutely no penalties in the first period. I don't even think it was the refs put away their whistles. I just genuinely think both teams were too scared to make a mistake at that point, and they were both playing quite tentatively. But the first period finished with no score. Going into the second, it didn't take too long for the whistles to actually come back out again. There was a trip against Liljegren, and the Leafs' penalty kill has been a questionable area. The special teams have been the problem this playoff series, and it's something that they need to improve on and address if they want to go any further next year. Marner did get a great chance though on the penalty kill shorthanded. He did get a good look. Boston made some mistakes on their power play, thankfully for the Leafs, and the Leafs killed it, and Boston had just got one shot on goal that whole time. That was a pretty good kill combined with some Boston errors. And then Coyle was given a cross check, and so the Leafs go on the power play, which the Leafs were 1 for 20 at this point in this playoff series on the power play. Järnkrok got a really good chance, but the Leafs, they just struggle to make it connect on the power play, and I keep thinking if they just performed even just a bit better on the power play, would I be sitting here grieving the loss right now? Probably not, if they just made the most. I've never seen the Leafs get so many opportunities on the power play in a postseason round, and they didn't make any use of it whatsoever. What a waste. Lyubushkin was put in the box for a hook. Samsonov made great saves. Connor Dewar, he had a short-handed chance as well on this Leafs penalty kill, and Connor Dewar, I very much like. I like what I've seen of him this postseason. The Leafs killed it off. Boston really couldn't find their stride in the power play either, luckily at that point for the Leafs, because Boston's power play was really clicking in earlier games, and it just didn't last night at all. And then Nyes crashes into the net and won a little heartwarming moment of a very sad night for Leafs fans. Definitely Swayman giving him a little pat in the net. I did think that was kind of cute. The Leafs definitely controlled that second period. Swayman kept Boston in it for sure. Swayman is just an incredible goalie. I just can't even express enough how good that man is. He is so talented. But the Leafs really did have a lot of control over the game in this period, and I liked how they looked. I was hella nervous, but I liked how they looked. Going into the third, Marner set up really nicely for Edmundson, but this was just over a minute into the third period, but Swayman made another great save. Story of the night. Pasternak had a really good shot 7 minutes in, but Samsonov made a great save. As I say, the goaltenders just stole the show last night. They were both exceptional. With 12:09 left in regulation, the shots were 24-21 for the Leafs now. And then William Nylander, he scores with 11 minutes-ish left in the game. Great pass from Matthews. Great play made by Matthews. He was good. Matthews and Nylander, my fave Leafs duo currently. And for the next 1 minute and 21 seconds, I felt great. I felt very scared, but I felt great. but it was very short-lived, unfortunately, because, as I say, 1 minute 21 later, Boston tie it up. Lindholm ties the game. There's 9:38 left. Ugh. No goals the entire rest of regulation, but 2 goals within 1 minute and 21 seconds. I hated this so much. I absolutely hated this. And so the game winds down and it's going to overtime, which I was dreading because I just had a feeling that the Leafs had to win it in regulation, and I didn't feel confident with them going into overtime. I just didn't feel too good about it, and unfortunately my gut feeling was right. But you know, I didn't have to sit and watch double or triple overtime. At least it could have been worse. It was already 4:30 in the morning by this point, but David Pastrnak, 1 minute 54 into overtime, scores, and the Leafs' playoff hopes are dead. I'm not even too sure where it all went wrong. Well, I do. It went wrong in earlier games. You can't not show up for a playoff round until you're in the elimination stage. It was too late by then. If they just performed better in some of the earlier games, they wouldn't have had to go to a Game 7 and it wouldn't have happened. If there hadn't been shaky goaltending performances, if the Leafs had been scoring more, if their power play had been used, if their special teams were better, then perhaps the season wouldn't be done. But it is. It is over, it is done, and I'm very, very sad about it. I think there needs to be some changes coming this summer. I have always been a big fan of Keith, but there needs to be changes. There has to be changes. I don't really want to touch too much on my thoughts on that just now because I want to think about it a little more, and if you guys want a video about the changes maybe the Leafs need to make, in my opinion, this season, then let me know and I can film that because I have no more game reviews to film anymore. So let me know if you'd want to hear that. But just a very disappointing game. I can't believe that we're here again. Well, I can, but I also can't. It just hurts nonetheless. It just hurts. I don't think it matters how long you've been watching, how long you've been a fan. It does sting just the same, and don't get me wrong, my heart completely goes out to people who have spent their entire lifetimes waiting, and you've been waiting for forever. Like, my heart goes out to you so much. My heart goes out to all of us because this sucks. This really, really sucks. And I don't really have much more to say right now other than that. As I say, if you want to hear my thoughts on maybe like what the Leafs need to change in this off season, let me know and I can do that if anyone wants to hear that. I'm just very sad, I'm very heartbroken, and there needs to be changes. There has to be some shake-ups because we've tried this too many times and it's not working. It's just not working, and you can't keep just doing the same thing and expecting different results. So there has to be some changes, and there has to be significant changes. There is good in this team, there is so much talent, and I hate to see it going to waste because there are players in their prime years right now and it's just going to waste. So you need to change up the team and utilise that talent and that prime a lot more. Hopefully next year, fresh start, new beginnings, a summer of change, we go again, and then next year I'm not sitting here sad after the first round again. I didn't know if this team was going to be able to go on too deep a cup run. I wasn't sure of that, but I did think that they were second round worthy. So it's really heartbreaking to me that they've done worse than last year, basically. So those are my thoughts. Thank you so much to every single person who has watched my sort of game reviews of this postseason round. I appreciate it so much. I don't think anything I have to say is particularly special, but I just like making silly little videos about hockey for the internet. So thank you so much for the support. It means the world to me. And I will be talking a lot of off-season Leafs content, some Jays stuff. I go to Toronto and New York in just a couple of weeks, and so I'll have vlogs up from that. So stick around. The content doesn't end here, but the Leafs season does. Those are all my thoughts for today. Leave a comment down below. What changes do you want to see? How do you feel after that round? I can probably imagine, but let me know nonetheless. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with more Toronto sports chats from across the pond. Bye guys. When I met you, when we started off, it's true.